Welcome inside the vault on a Friday, maybe the longest week of our lives, and it comes to an end today. Glad you guys could be with us for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. If you could on the way in today, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. We'll get to Super Chats as they come in. Sarah, the Ravens are unbothered, and Trey Hendrickson is anything, and more. I mean, the guy showed up to one winning drive today and had his introductory press conference as a Raven, made a good debut, and there were a lot of details and takeaways to discuss as a result. He entered win now mode, talked about what that window consists of for him personally and what he hopes to accomplish in Baltimore as a 31-year-old pass rusher who just got a great lucrative contract that he had been waiting for years. A new player visit dropped in the ongoing process in replacing Tyler Linderbaum, and Eric DeCosta literally was on a frenzy of media himself this week on top of the free agency responsibilities on his plate. So all that and more is what we have coming up, including a number of signings as well, with player exits, player arrivals, and everything else in between. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Good to be here. It's like a week ago tonight that I remember jumping on a live stream for the Max Crosby stuff. So yeah, I get why you're saying it's been a long week, but an exciting week. And Bobby, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise still surrounding the Ravens, and yet they just continued, as you said, unbothered. Look who was in the house today. Trey Hendrickson, the new big splash signing, who is the new pass rusher. And it's not Max Crosby. He's here, as you said, in a win now mode. He asked everybody today, if you can't get excited to play defense here in Baltimore, then you got to check your pulse. Just so much excitement in the building today. So as they introduce him, and he's making his debut, and there's noise surrounding, I really think that Harry Douglas on ESPN, before we jump into all the notes and all of the things that Minter said and Hendrickson and Eric DeCosta, Harry Douglas does sign up this unbothered feeling the best.
As general manager, Jesse Minter as the head coach, hell, Lamar Jackson as the quarterback. They are very unbothered right now at this moment. Because guess what they have, y'all? They have a guy in Trey Hendrickson that they were able to sign for 4 years that has had a lot of production in the National Football League and outside of last year. And even though he only played 7 games, he had 4 sacks. But the 2 prior years to last season, no one from a pass rushing standpoint had more sacks than him in that 2-year span, which was 35. Better yet, you're pairing him up with a guy in Matabike on the defensive line, Roquan Smith at linebacker, Kyle Hamilton in the secondary at the safety position, and Nate Wiggins at the cornerback position. Do you think the Baltimore Ravens really give a damn about what anybody is saying right now? I answer for everyone. Hell no. They don't care about what your mama, your auntie, your daddy, your uncle that's a mechanic that smokes cigarettes and the one that's hanging off his lip. They don't care one bit of what any of y'all think. There's nothing wrong with doing what's in the best interest of your organization when it's all said and done. And some people may say they got cold feet. Guess what they say? Boy, cold feet, and we're still relaxed though. We're still relaxed with our player that can rush the passer very effectively. 2 first-round picks. And 2 first-round draft picks, Freddie Coleman. So people can sit up here and you can bash the Baltimore Ravens organization all you want. But guess what, y'all? If you look at everyday life, I promise you can point to a moment where you backed out of something, where it wasn't right for you and your side of things, and you decided, you know what, let me go a different direction. Like RC and Channing and Fred Taylor, what they had a show called A Pivot, right? Let me pivot to another direction. Exactly what you would do as a human being. So don't sit up here and get mad at the Baltimore Ravens for deciding to have that pivot moment. Sign Trey Hendrickson and continue to have their 2 first-round draft picks.
Words for everybody out there. No deal is done until the deal is done.
Unbothered. Someday everybody's going to learn that. No deal is done when you hear pending the physical. So he says it best. And Bobby, you could just see Trey Hendrickson I mean, Eric DeCosta does look like he hasn't had a lot of sleep. I will say that. But Jesse Minter sitting up there with Trey Hendrickson, they were just moving forward. They're feeling good, and they feel like they're about to get a lot of wins in the win column with Trey Hendrickson on their side.
Man, Harry came in with a plan, huh? He wanted to knock down a lot of the nonsense that he's seeing in the social media circles. You know who I also saw went scorched earth against a lot of that noise as well? Keith Mills, formerly my colleague of WBAL. I know you overlapped with him. He just went nuts. There's a lot of people that are speaking out on some of the accusations that you and I have discussed over the last 24 to 48 hours, and Harry certainly has become the latest. So, and maybe even the loudest too, that actually trumps what was already loud, which was that noise. But to your point, I think that kind of sets things up nicely to start to run through a number of the things that we took away from Trey's media debut, if you will, as a Raven. He will wear the number 91 jersey, and there he is with Eric and Jesse, courtesy of Ravens Productions. This lasted about 20 minutes or so, and Trey, right off the top, talked a little bit about what he's looking forward to. And given news cycles from last month, I think you guys will appreciate this. And it didn't take very long, Sarah, for him to ingratiate himself to the Ravens flock fan base after saying this.
I can say is I'm excited to go to OTAs, right? Like I'm excited to be at training camp. Like I'm a football player. I like to put my hand in the dirt. I like the smell of the grass. I like my cleats sweaty when I come in from a hard training camp practice. Like that's what I've built my brand on. Like I said, I had a tremendous amount of good coaches, and it's hands, eyes, feet, all built through the process of learning the defense in those very valuable time in OTAs, very, very valuable reps in training camp, and going against a guy like Ronnie Stanley. I mean, can you believe what we can do as we sharpen each other for game one, and that's what I'm excited for. So it's not to look backwards or say what if or anything like that. I know the opportunity I have in front of me, and I'm excited to capitalize on that.
Almost as if he knew what one of the themes of the offseason was. He comes in and within the first few minutes says he's excited to go to OTAs. He'll turn 32 in December. And Sarah, I suppose you can write him down as an attendee months out from voluntary organized team activities beginning in Baltimore.
He sure set himself up that way. And the Ravens were setting him up as their future closer. And that's exactly what he is signed to do. He just talked about how he was excited to sharpen his skills with Ronnie Stanley. I mean, he already knows this team. He's got everybody, all the names down. He's been having to identify them as he's had to go up against them every single year for many years. And he's had a lot of good quarterbacks in his career. And now he's got Lamar Jackson. He said, quote, "It excites me to try to get the ball back to our offense, put it in his hands, and we will win games." Both Eric DeCosta and Jesse Minter, when they were talking about Trey, they kept referring to him as a game wrecker and as a closer. Minter specifically pointed out, he's like, listen, here's what stands out to me. It's that since 2021, Trey is second in the NFL with fourth quarter sacks. Like, it's one thing to pad your stat line with sacks in the first or second quarter, but we're talking about the fourth quarter when things matter the most. It helps that I'm sure when he's had a lead, which he will often have with the Ravens if Lamar Jackson is healthy, he will play with the lead, and that forces people to sit back and throw the ball and run less. And that was one thing that was against Max Crosby and his stats, is that he didn't get a lot of chances to rush the passer in the fourth quarter because the Raiders were frequently down. Well, we don't have to imagine what Trey Hendrickson is like in the fourth quarter. And last year, Bobby, he was on his way to still being number one in fourth quarter sacks until he was injured. And by the way, speaking of his injury, obviously we know he passed his physical. He's ready to go. The core muscle injury, he's already ready to go for OTAs. So there's no lingering issues there. That I think it was in his 7th game of the season that he sustained that injury. So he's had plenty of time to get back on his feet. And this is it. This is what you brought him in for, to be a closer in the 4th quarter. And both sides feel very confident that he'll continue that trend.
Here he is on a number of those topics that you just addressed.
Well, I'm motivated intrinsically. Like I think, win on defense and get the ball back to your quarterback is something that I'm motivated to do. But I want the other 10 guys to count on me. If we're in a place and it's a pinch, you gotta have gas in the tank, and you got to be able to push when everybody else doesn't want to. And I think that's something that was instilled in me by my father. He's always pushed me to be the best. I mean, I remember we were pushing his 92.50 when Tim Tebow was doing it because it was cool in Florida, and you want to quit like the first quarter of a mile, but we finished every mile. And that started way back in the day. So 4th quarter is always when you push the most. You finish your gassers, and it's instilled in OTAs and in training camp. And being in that position has been an incredible honor, and I plan on continuing to push myself to be the best I can be.
You referenced the statistic that Jesse referenced, and throughout this offseason, Jesse has come across as acutely aware of what's led to Ravens' failures and shortcomings throughout the Lamar era in the month of January and in the regular season, given their 4th quarter trend. Whether Trey is aware of that or not, he's addressing it and talking about what he can do individually, which will help the defense as a whole, and of course the opposite side of the ball, either closing out games or giving Lamar the ball back and more possession opportunities, if not both. He's talking about what he can do to ensure that trend doesn't continue. Another way of ingratiating yourself to this fan base. Saying it's one thing, doing it is another. But those were obvious takeaways that jump right off the page at you. And Sarah, here he is on his QB1 as well.
MVP quarterback, right? Like there's few quarterbacks in the league that can win it all. And I think it starts there. I was fortunate to play with Drew Brees, Joe Burrow, and now I get to say Lamar Jackson. That excites me as a defender trying to get the ball back to our offense. Put it in his hands, and we'll win games.
That's not a bad trio there to be playing with. 3 Hall of Famers, probably, when it's all said and done.
Yeah. So he knows the importance. It's funny because, like you said, who knows if he knows the trend with how many 4th quarter losses or 4th quarter meltdowns, we should call them, the Ravens have had once they've had the lead. But you're a pass rusher. You already know your job. You already know that it's time to close. And so, yeah, he knows the importance of getting it back into a good quarterback's hands. And, he talked a little bit. I mean, just looking at his sacks here, even when you compare it to Max Crosby, listen, for sure, Max Crosby is the more all-around pass rusher, or edge defender, because he was phenomenal against the run. And Trey Hendrickson addressed that. He was asked about, hey, we know that you can get after the quarterback. What about the run? And he basically said, I want to get better at a lot of things, including the run. And Bobby, I don't know if you noticed it, but very quickly, he mentioned the entire defense and the defensive line. He's it depends on what the coach is calling, and I got to fill different gaps depending on what they're saying. And it was almost as if, and again, it was very brief because he took a lot of accountability. But I do wonder, and I wonder if he wonders if his run defense can be better with a better interior defensive line. Where you have
Kelsey just brought this up the other day. Kelsey Conway literally just brought this up the other day.
She did. She mentioned it. She's like, well, what if he does have a better interior defensive line and he's not maybe trying to do too much and trying to guess where it's going to be and trying to do other people's jobs? He very briefly mentioned that also. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of impact that has. But he was asked, people are calling BS on the Ravens, wanting to have both Max and Trey together. Trey continues to, sources have insisted not just to Adam Schefter, but the Pat McAfee show keeps insisting that is exactly what was that was what all sides were trying to get done. So much so today when he was asked about it, nobody even asked, hey, is it true that you were told that you could play with Max Crosby? Because all the media that were there today understood it as a fact. And Trey Hendrickson responded to the question as if it didn't even need to be a question anymore. It's more like, what would that have been like, since it was, the part of the plans? It was part of a potential plan. And he said, quote, what a phenomenal opportunity that would have been. Nothing but respect for the way he, meaning Max, carries himself on and off the field and the adversity he's overcome in his personal life. You've got guys in this building that I'm excited to play with as well. That's what's so special about this. It feels so defensive minded, saying in Baltimore. So listen, at this point, people can believe what they want to believe. Everybody's in their camp of what happened. But it sure seemed to me that the media in that room, Trey Hendrickson and the front office, all understood the foundation of that question, which is not, is it true, but what would it have been like, since that was the plan.
And Jesse understands now what's definitely true, and that is his life's going to be a little bit easier now that Trey's involved in this equation, and also talked about his pass rush ability as well.
Well, it gives you a lot of flexibility. I think the whole idea on defense is to not be predictable and know that you can at times get pressure rushing 4, get pressure rushing 5, get pressure rushing 6. The threat of all those different things. Obviously, Trey's a guy that wins in a multitude of ways and has gotten a lot of sacks over the years in 3-man rushes, 4-man rushes, which allow you to then, target coverages, take away guys, handle that. Had a really good rush last year where I was at with guy being able to rush 4. So it's a major blessing to a guy designing defenses to know you got a guy like that can win with 4.
And let's be honest, Sarah, winning consistently, winning really at all at times with 4-man rushes was essentially non-existent in Baltimore last season. So Jesse was not a part of that, but he certainly was a part of a ton of success in that department in Los Angeles through 2 years. He turned that defense around. He had a Kyle Hamilton in Derwin James. He had a pass rush with 4, and he had a fundamentally sound all 3 levels defense that was championship-esque. It just was the opposite side of the ball that failed them in that wild card loss this past season. So there you have it. The importance of winning with 4, something we haven't seen in a long time, and Trey gives them that chance now.
Well, and we talked about, I'm sure Minter is so happy.
Yeah.
He's got his whole starting secondary is in the building. They're under contract. You've got your third safety that was just brought in from New England. All the other guys, you got Chidobe Awuzie back, and then everybody else that you already know. So he's got his secondary. He's got Roquan. Still got to figure out who's going to be next to Roquan since Buchanan was injured. You've got Travis Jones, and now you've got Trey Hendrickson. You've got an up-and-comer, Mike Green, and the Ravens aren't done yet. We'll get to that later. But when you have Trey Hendrickson, he talked about how he's number 2 in the league since 2021 in 4th down sacks. But where is he overall? Basically, since 2019, 79 sacks. Jamison Hensley actually put up a comparison of Trey versus Max Crosby just in the pass rush department. Since 2019, Trey Hendrickson, 79 sacks. Max Crosby, 69.5. 154 quarterback hits for Trey. Max Crosby, 164. Then the pressure rate, Trey Hendrickson, 12.3%. Max Crosby, 10.4%. So for sure, Trey is the better pass rusher. He's got to develop that run game. But it's just what Jesse is talking about. He's like, what a bunch of comfort and flexibility this gives me so I can target coverages. And then I was listening to Chidobe Awuzie when he was on the Lounge, the Ravens podcast, when he signed yesterday. And he's played with Trey. They went to the Super Bowl together. And Ryan Mink and Garrett Downing asked him, what's it like to play with Trey? He's like, oh, you have no idea the comfort it brings. He goes, because listen, we're not perfect in the back. We're not perfect in our coverage. And he's like, if you just feel like you're off and you're like, oh no, please don't throw this guy. And then all of a sudden you turn around and the quarterback's on the ground and Trey's celebrating. You're like, oh, thank you, Trey. Yeah. Thank you, because I wasn't perfect on that coverage. They can make you a good pass rusher is a cornerback's best friend.
And DaCosta gave 3 reasons here as well as you transcribed on how he builds this pass rush and develops it through the draft. One is that he had more money than usual. Quote,
Well,
we had a little.
He's saying why he didn't build through the draft this time, why he departed from his normal ways.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is your slide. Take us through it.
Yeah, no. So, so the question was, why now? Why did you suddenly break the bank to go and get a pass rusher when you've been wanting to do this through the draft so often? He gave 3 reasons why he departed his normal ways. There might be a fourth that I'm sure people are thinking about that he didn't say. But number 1, he said, we had more money than usual. He said, quote, we had a little bit of a nest egg. Okay. Number 2, he felt like the guys they covet in the draft this year would already be gone at number 14. So you can take a flyer and try to get something in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round. And I'm sure they still will. In fact, he said they still will. But they knew they needed an impact guy right now for this Super Bowl window with Lamar Jackson. That impact guy, he's saying, probably not going to be there at number 14. And that's just realistic. Plus, there were guys available. And they got the number 1 available guy in free agency. They temporarily had the number 1 available guy via trade. Okay. And then the 3rd reason he said that he thought this year was a time because there were those impactful guys, Trey being one of them. So when you see there's not every day that really impactful pass rushers are available on the free agent market. This year there was. It's not every day that they have the money to do so. This year there was, especially with the Lamar Jackson restructure. And he just didn't feel like the guy was going to be there at number 14. So that's what made him do it this year. And other people would say he had to do it because he missed on other guys in years past. So that's where we are. And I think he made the correct decision because the Ravens can't relive what they did last year. Not when you bring in a brand new head coach that's also basically your defensive coordinator. Especially
after you've seen the way in which the last 2 Super Bowl champions have won and made deep runs into the postseason with a unit that in the trenches you just simply have not been able to stack up with. So great takeaways there from Trey Hendrickson's media debut as a Raven. Certainly bodes well for his OTA attendance. And obviously now moving forward, Eric and Lacey, the DaCosta family, get a chance to breathe this weekend. It's been a heck of a start to 2026, as Eric noted, between finding his replacement, his next John Harbaugh successor, the staff that then goes into it. Think about all the interview processes and the timing and the research that's required there around the clock. And then you immediately go to the combine, essentially, not long after, all while prepping the draft, making free agency decisions, bringing Max Crosby to Baltimore just to then have it go backwards. Right. What a wild, wild start to this offseason in Baltimore.
Actually, can I just add one more thing? I was going to do it in the next section, but it fits better here. So Eric also went on 105.7 The Fan last night. And we're going to focus most of what he said because he's talking about still building the roster. But Bobby, yesterday we talked about the timeline with Max Crosby's physical. Because the trade went down on Friday and he didn't go into the Ravens facility until Tuesday. That was 4 days. And both teams moved forward, in my view, in good faith that they both thought the deal was going to continue. Because the Raiders went on and signed a bunch of players. The Ravens let a lot of their free agents walk out the door. And so thinking that they needed that $30 million on the cap to absorb for Max Crosby. And like Draymond Jones is one of those guys that they let walk out the door that nobody really cites. Okay, so the question is, what took so long? When you have a blockbuster deal like this, and the deal is pending a physical, what took so long? This was Eric DaCosta's answer last night on 105.7 The Fan.
The case, as you guys know, a trade can't be made until the new league year starts. So even as a club, we can't announce anything, which is why in this particular situation, neither the Raiders or the Ravens could make any public announcement. Since we don't have the rights to the player, we've got to be granted access to the player by the other club. That is unusual from the standpoint of typically that wouldn't be the case, except for a trade that happens, again, before the new league year. So they gave permission to bring the player in at a specific time before the new league year started for the purposes of examining the player to potentially execute the trade, if that makes sense.
So that's interesting. So he's basically saying because he still wasn't technically a free agent, he was still under contract with the Raiders. So when it's your player and then he hasn't been, the deal can't be official until Wednesday at 4 p.m., they have to be granted access. So look at just what happened with Trey Hendrickson. He had that core muscle injury. Ravens announced, or it's reported, that he's going to be signed on Monday. That's reported on Monday. And wow, I'm actually moving. I'm losing track of all the days. But he comes in very soon and has his physical, and then the Ravens announce that it's official. In this case, he's saying we had to wait for the club to grant us access to Max Crosby. And so if people are wondering why it took so long to even have that physical in the first place, he's saying they needed to wait for the permission from the Raiders.
Helps connect the dots on the chronological timing of everything and also how they were trying to conduct business, right? That was lockstep with their trade partner, at least initially.
Right.
That was a good interview, by the way. 105.7 The Fan. Cordell landed Eric about 15, 16 minutes worthy. Good, just a thorough interview there that can be found on the Fan's YouTube page.
So just real quick, because I want to get the timeline right. So I'm seeing ESPN has the news, according to Adam Schefter, that the Ravens agreed to sign Trey Hendrickson. This was on Wednesday. And yesterday, which was Thursday, Hendrickson was in the building to get his physical.
Yeah.
So with a free agent, the Ravens made it happen fast. With Max Crosby, it took 4 days when they didn't have as much control.
Which brings us to Super Chats, and Charisma 4010 gets us started. Considering how good the Ravens are at finding offensive linemen on days 2 and 3, should round 1 be focused on wide receiver unless, miraculously, Peter Woods or Reuben Bain falls? What about Spencer Fano? If for some reason he falls, Charisma, add him into that group. But they've been known throughout Eric's time, certainly, to go after skill position players in the first round. He has been unafraid to take those swings in the first round to the tune of 3 wide receivers. Now, he hadn't yet taken over for Ozzie in 2018. That's the last time they used a first-round pick on a tight end in Hayden Hurst. We talked about that earlier this week before they traded back in to get Lamar in that same opening round. If a Kenyon Sadiq is hanging out there, if one of the wide receivers falls to 14, you better believe that's going to be enticing for Eric and company based on their trends at this position. But somebody good's going to be there at 14, Sarah. They're going to have a pick that's best player available. That's a very enticing pick, or 2 maybe at 14. Will one of those be Vanga? Perhaps.
I obviously hope it is Vanga, but I'll just throw this out there. If it's not somebody that's as impactful as Vanga, I think we should definitely watch for the Ravens to trade back, especially if they're going to get a wide receiver. I think that's something to watch here. But yeah, if Venga's there, you grab him.
But if Kenyon Sadiq is there as well, then there's a conversation to be had based on what they've done in the past. Which is what? Draft first-round tight ends.
Not at number 14.
Well, correct. It wasn't that high.
Yeah. Talking about Hayden Hurst?
It wasn't far off from 14.
But
for Hayden, or for Kent, so I'm talking about Sadiq.
Okay.
He stole the combine. Outside of Sonny Styles, he stole the combine. And his stock is through the roof.
Does his tape steal the NFL world though?
He's a playmaker. Can't speak for Eric. I can't speak for Eric.
I'm just saying, like, when you talk about he stole the combine, that doesn't move me much.
Well, then we got some.
I see the measurables. I'm just saying tape greater than combine is all I'm saying.
Then we got some,
and I'm sure he has impressive tape too. By the way,
I was going to say we got some Oregon tape to dig into then, because this guy's a playmaker and they're looking for the future Mark Andrews, I would think. Now, that might be done in day 2 and day 3. They've done that in the past as well, and they've had success doing that. 2 of those guys that were on day 3 just left, and they got paid handsomely for what they've done throughout their first 4 years in the league, and Likely and Kohler. So there's no saying that they wouldn't do that again. I'm just under the scenarios that could unfold in a month and a half from now. That's one of them. I'm going to be really, really interested in seeing if both Sadiq, for whatever reason, and he may not be there, but for some reason he is, and Vanga's there as well. There's a conversation to be had. I look forward to that. Another one from Charisma.
Says, hey, Bobby, would you rather A, try to tackle Lamar in the open field, or B, try to tackle Derrick Henry running at you full speed? This is an easy answer for me, but what you got?
Do you want to get embarrassed or killed?
Yeah,
Which one?
exactly. That's exactly it. I will take embarrassment and keep my life. Yeah.
Take your pick. Deceased or embarrassed? I guess I'll take my life as well. Thanks, Charisma. Trey Dog says, Bobby, Sarah, love y'all. Thank God it's Friday. Always remember, your current situation isn't your final destination. Keep growing, keep praying, keep grinding for greatness.
I love it, Trey.
Yeah. He's always got that message that just kind of fits for the day and time that you find yourself in. No? Right?
It's funny. I quoted Dre yesterday to one of my kids because he had the yesterday. His super chat was, when people throw stones at you, just keep them and build steps to climb higher.
I like it.
My
I like it
kids
across
don't
the
like
board.
it as much as me.
Not yet. Not yet. Got to know your audience there a little bit, right? Thanks, Dre. Although they're all wise beyond their years. Who am I kidding? Douglas H. Brown Sr. is with us on a Friday, and he drops in a 50 spot to celebrate for you.
Ooh, yes, Douglas, we love you. He says, sorry, I'm late. I will try and be here every day next week. And then I will be in Charleston, South Carolina the following, and then Knoxville, Tennessee the following week. Man, you are on the move. We appreciate you on the road when you're here. If you listen afterwards, we just appreciate you so much, Douglas.
One of the hardest working 70-plus-year-olds in the country, I'd have to think. And he sent us an email earlier this week. He says, Sarah and Bobby, sorry I've been absent. Just busier than I've ever been in my life. Very, very busy time in my life. Granddaughter's wedding, projects all over the Southeast. Also, sorry I didn't annotate my super chat. That from DHB Senior earlier on in the week, and he drops us a 50 spot on a Friday. It's great to have him here, as always. That brings us to Captain Jay Schaefer, who writes, so I'm an older guy that forgets a lot. Please tell me why Kyle Brandt seems to hate us so much. I used to like him with Kay, Nate, and Peter. However, it was all Schefter could do to try to calm him down. What gives? So, Captain, I'm actually not aware of what segment it is that you seem to be referring to. Sarah, are you?
I am not, but we can go look for it. And if he's saying foul things, I'm sure I'll have a rebuttal, as I often do.
I'd love to know.
I'm guessing he's saying the Ravens, did the Raiders dirty. That's what I'm guessing he's referring to, because that's what everybody's talking about right now.
Kyle,
am I right, Captain?
He's part of the Good Morning Football panel, of course, on NFL Network. So, Captain, if you could, anybody out there that is aware of what Captain's referring to, we've been just engulfed by all the content. So that's maybe one thing that fell through the cracks this week. Also, on top of that 50 spot, Douglas says, hey, I'm going to go ahead and throw 5 memberships around. Ooh. And on a Friday, 5 new channel Voltrons get gifted memberships as a result. So, Douglas, thank you. Appreciate you. And let us know if you are on the receiving end of Douglas's generosity. Ocean 08 says, Bobby calling Burrow a future Hall of Famer, LMAO. Not sure why you're laughing at that. He's still got more work to be done, but he's absolutely going in the right direction. I think you can already refer to Lamar as one. Drew Brees is definitely one. And Burrow's heading in the right direction, if you ask. I
think he's a little bit far off. What does he have, Bobby? Lamar's got 2 MVPs. He's got none. He has a Super Bowl appearance.
He's got a Super Bowl appearance.
/ Super Bowl loss.
The career percentage of accuracy, completion percentage, statistically speaking, he's absolutely in the conversation.
What about the career injury rate, which is way worse than Lamar?
I'm sorry?
People always talk. I said, what about his career injury rate? People talk about Lamar being injured, but it's actually not even, it's not bad. It's more the timing. But Burrow he's missed more.
Yeah. And I'm not comparing, like Lamar is
that's true. You aren't comparing the two.
He could.
Yeah.
Oceans wants to probably feel like, hey, Bobby's putting Lamar and Joe together. No, Lamar could hang it up tomorrow. He'd be in Canton. Drew is in Canton. Joe is projected. He has more work to do. If I'm a betting man, when it's all said and done, based on what he's accomplished from a statistical standpoint, the Super Bowl appearance, completion percentage, so on and so forth, I think that he's en route to that. He has been injury prone more than Lamar has throughout his 8 years, and had some horrific defenses along the way as well, which Lamar can relate to on top of that. So Oceans thinks it's a farce. I think he's a farce. Appreciate the super chat. Dreams for you on a feisty Friday.
Wait, am I a farce too? Because I disagree with you.
No, Oceans just the LMAO in the end of it was what was so unnecessary. So I had to get him back for that. Dreams is here. Queon on a Friday.
Dreams says, any chance we double dip in the draft? If they want to continue this aggressive approach, say we take Venga at 14 and Denzel Boston is there in the 20s. How are they going to get to the 20s? But is he saying double dip at offensive line? Yes. Double dip in the first round? I don't know how they're moving back into the first round.
A lot of folks set on Boston for the measurables, I think, knowing that Lamar hasn't had a chance to play with that big body wide receiver that Denzel would give him a chance to. Thanks, Dreams. Ocean says, don't be mad, Bobby. The truth hurts, bro. John Will is celebrating 8 months of channel membership. Gosh, I wish I was on my other channel right now. Diana Rossini implied the Ravens.
What would you do? Have him call in and fight him?
What would I do? What now?
Well, if you're on your show, would you just have him call in and then you guys would fight? Is that why you wish you're on your show?
I'd probably be showing a little less emotional intelligence at the moment.
Oh.
Just because I'm tired and it's a Friday and Ocean seems like he wants some,
He wants to fight.
That's all. That's all. It'd be a nice little verbal jousting on a Friday, I think, something along those lines. But I have a commitment to my wonderful partner of 4+ years, and I can show some emotional intelligence at 31 and a half years old.
Oh, great. Here comes all the Burrow commentary in the chat, dude. You're kidding.
Yeah. The best part is they're going to twist this into me hating Lamar, right?
Bobby,
that's how this goes.
Here's a question I have for you.
What a joke.
Joe Flacco has won a Super Bowl. Is he en route to a Hall of Fame?
Say that again.
Joe Flacco has won a Super Bowl and has been more available than Burrow. Is he en route to a Hall of Fame induction?
See, I don't know. I'm not following you on that one because while he had a generational January and was January Joe for a reason, look, Joe has had far less on the opposite side of the ball and has done a lot more for his unit than Joe has. That's my opinion.
That's a good argument to say he's like a top 3, top 4 quarterback today. That's not an argument for a Hall of Fame induction.
I'm not saying he is today. I'm saying that he is heading in the right direction to be projected as a future Hall of Famer, which is why I coupled him in with the quarterbacks that Trey has played with in Drew, Lamar, and Joe. 2 of the 3 are shoo-ins, and I think Joe is heading in that direction. And right, Oceans was upset with my
wins a Super Bowl or an MVP, we can discuss. But until then, it's a no-go for me.
See, I don't know if he needs either one of those with the way in which the AFC throughout his era has been stacked at quarterback and what he's done statistically. He may not need one of those when it's all said and done. Lamar has him beat not the Super Bowl, but in accolades, in wins, in win percentage, and a number of other things. The accolades being obviously the above all when it's a comparison game right now. But there's going to be some quarterback play throughout this era, knowing what the AFC has been stacked at that position, that may have a chance for candidacy, not first ballot, but when it's all said and done because of the statistical side of things. And Joe could end up being one of those.
Okay, so I just quickly looked this up. Hopefully this is correct. There are 26 quarterbacks in the NFL Hall of Fame. And this is old. This is 6 years ago.
I know what you're looking up. I'm guessing it's probably those that are in without a Super Bowl and without an MVP.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, Tony Romo. Is Matt Ryan? No, those are nominations. Those are nominations right there. The guys in are Marino, Kelly, Fouts, Moon, Tarkenton. So I don't know what Joe's stats are and what theirs are, but I guess that would be your argument if he hit stats close to them.
Yeah. It's funny that people think that this is some astronomically bad take. Wow.
I think it's kind of a bad take right now.
Wow. Well, I
don't know about astronomically.
I'm shocked that there's this kind of blowback. I really am.
I just don't.
Actually,
I just don't see a resume whatsoever that puts him in the conversation.
Sarah, he's literally a year removed from one of the best statistical seasons ever.
Yes, what a great season he had.
What's that?
I said, yes, what a great season he had that did not end up with an MVP.
I'm going to stop now because the more that I start to, it's not a defense of him. It's just a simple conversation based on the player, and it's being wrapped in, not by you, but it's being wrapped into this like Lamar versus Burrow argument. And I despise the idea of trying to have an objective conversation and then it being spun into something that's narrative driven by the live chat right now, by a percentage of the live chat. Not everyone, but by some. That's a bummer that conversation can't be had. John is celebrating 8 months of channel membership, and he writes, Diana Rossini implied the Ravens stalled the process waiting until Monday for the medical exam. Should have done her homework like you guys did. Hashtag facts matter. Sarah had a lot of commentary on that yesterday. We pulled it out as a repurposed show. Go check that out in our best of section if you haven't already. And Jerry DeMonico is here with us today.
If there is no one available at 14, how likely is it that they trade down? This does mean there needs to be someone there that somebody else wants. Of course, this is a moot point since no one will do business with the Ravens. Okay. I think I caught most of that. So yes, I do think trading back is a possibility. We'll see who falls. And B, yes, I do think that if somebody wants number 14 and Eric DeCosta gives them a deal that they like, people will make that trade.
Yeah.
You know what? I almost want to see him traded back just to be like, oh, I thought GMs wouldn't deal with Eric anymore. There will be some sort of trade in the draft with Eric. I'm sure of it.
Maybe he just does business for the next couple months out of spite with as many teams as possible, right?
Sure.
King says, unless Tate or Bain falls, draft Venga. Very simple.
As long as Venga falls also.
Which may need to happen. He didn't do much at the combine besides interview. So everybody keep in mind, he did not do much at the combine besides interview, if at all. He might have just interviewed if memory serves. So there's not a lot on him aside from whatever he does at a potential pro day and whatever he did throughout, which was a lot throughout his career at Penn State on tape. So thanks to LSC758 for this super chat. And Captain's letting us know what he meant. He says, yes, the immediate reaction the following morning when Schefter announced that he just got a text from Trey about playing together. So we still don't know what the specific reaction is, but clearly Kyle had some things to say. And perhaps we'll have a chance to look at that at some point. Appreciate you, Captain. Thank you again for your service, and thanks for being with us today. Second super chat from the main man himself, and LSC758. Sarah with a second super chat.
He says Burrow is only in the Hall of Fame if he goes to the Rams post Stafford winning game Super Bowl.
Burrow's only in the Hall of Fame if he goes to the Rams post Stafford
and wins the Super Bowl. I think
winning a game. Again, I don't think he needs a Super Bowl win, i.e. Dan Marino, to get in.
If his injury rate keeps up, then he would.
That's going to be hard. That's going to be hard. If he continues to be not perpetually, but often injured, then that's going to be hard for him. And again, this is a projected prediction based on his statistics through 8 seasons, not what he would be tomorrow if he were to call it a career. Just to be clear, again, I've already said this, but just to be clear, it's a projection. Manny says, what about Jeff Caldwell? What about Jeff? I'm not sure what the context is here, Manny, but happy to talk about it.
Drafting him? Do we like? Is he saying? What about drafting Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver, Bearcats, Cincinnati?
Is he big body? That's probably on the Denzel Boston train, right? Yeah, he's sick. Oh, yeah, okay. 6'5", 215.
He was born in Louisville.
Okay. So that probably came during the Denzel discussion there.
Yeah. So last year, 32 receptions, 478 yards, 6 touchdowns. The year before, 52 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Was he hurt last year? Is that why his numbers dipped?
I'd have to look.
Dip, baby, dip.
I know that Dan has. Gosh, man, I know that Marino has MVPs. The super chat itself was about the Super Bowl, which he fell short of.
Mm-hmm.
That was the comparison there. I own play _ entertainment, maybe. Pair Cam Jordan with Trey. Cam Jordan would be a very Ravens-like player at this point in his career. Long-time New Orleans Saint. Still has something left to give to a defense. I believe for the first time in his career, he does not have a contract in place for the future with his longtime organization. That would be intriguing. It would be an upgrade on paper over Kyle Van Noy, definitely over Jadeveon Clowney, at least in terms of what Jadeveon's been since he left Baltimore in 23 in free agency. I could get behind the Cam Jordan discussion. Kobe Pruitt's here for you.
Says, for 4 years, I was the 5th best power forward in New York City. I should be put in the prep school Hall of Fame.
Kobe, it's too bad I really like you in this super chat because I want to rip you and I'm not gonna. Because that is such a stretch. Okay, this is such a stretch right now. This is being taken to new heights. Okay.
You should just embrace it at this point.
I am gonna, which is why I'm not going after KP. Plus, he beat my what. He's like 6'4". Wasn't he? Did he tell us he's 6'5" or something one time?
Something like that. He says if Burrow gets in the Hall of Fame, I'm in the prep school Hall of Fame.
I thought he was in my inner circle. I really did, Kobe. I really did. Rich says the Ravens need to get Pierre Strong Jr. to replace Keaton. Explosive.
He says he's 6'6", by the way. Get it right.
Yeah, well, and I'm 5'10". The Ravens need to get Pierre Strong Jr. to replace Keaton. Explosive. Same 40 time and a better blocker. Talent being wasted. Watch his highlights. So Rich is looking at life after Keaton Mitchell. And that brings us to KP, another one.
Are you 5'8"?
With the proper shoes on.
Because I know I'm 5'10" with no shoes on. Okay.
With the proper footwear on. Give me a little lift.
I can't. Oh, is Kobe going to say anything else that's going to make me tear up? Okay. He says, it sounds like EDC is going to fill out the offensive line with free agents in the coming weeks. If that's the case, I can see us drafting. Here we go. This is what you want, Bobby. Kenyon Sadiq or Bain Jr. at 14. I don't know if Bain's going to be there.
You know what's crazy? There's a world where all three won't be there. Bain, Sadiq, and Venga. There's a world. But
you think Bain and Venga's going to be there?
Well, no, I'm saying there's a world where all three won't be. And what I mean by all
okay.
And what I mean by all three is I'm talking Bain, Sadiq, and Venga. But inevitably, when there's multiple quarterbacks taken before the Ravens, which may not happen, but if it does, that's going to help them, as you pointed out last month. It may not happen, though, because it's a quarterback class that, in comparison to the projections of 2027, pales in comparison. But if for some reason a team gets desperate and Ty Simpson starts climbing up the ladder on draft boards and both Mendoza and Simpson go before the Ravens, that's huge. They're going to need everything they can get. BB and CF Production says, say Lamar wins the Super Bowl next year and is now
6-5 or 7-5 in the playoffs.
Where does he rank all time for quarterbacks? Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look at the list specifically, but he would vault into top 10 status.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say without looking at the list. We got.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm spitballing in a sense because we haven't done a deep dive on that, but we all know what Lamar's resume is lacking. There's literally one thing on it that's
and
not
he's
there
still
yet.
probably going to go to the Hall of Fame because he does have 2 MVPs.
Well, and that's what I meant earlier, like a minute ago. If you wanted to hang it up this offseason, God forbid, if he hung it up this offseason, he'd be in.
Yeah. But he won't.
He might just be getting started. Guy's 28 years old.
Started.
29 years old, I think. Buck Morris says Vanga or Fano would be interesting. Yeah, so I was actually doing some work on this morning about Spencer Fano, the Utah offensive lineman. If he for some reason falls, Sarah, and it's those two and they're both on the board, that'll be really compelling to see where they are in the Ravens board evaluations, because both of those players are not to keep using the operative word today, projected plug and play starters from day one at their respective positions. So Buck brings up an interesting point. KP's with us.
He says, did you guys see Mekhi Lemon run like a duck at his pro day? I think he clocked in here. What was it?
I saw something on this yesterday.
4.48. Everybody has different numbers. 4.48 or 4.53.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday from Dane Brugler. And I'll pull it up just since we're on this. I meant to make a bookmark of it just to talk about it, because if he's there at 14, there's going to be a conversation to be had, I would think, within Ravens walls. Steve Smith Sr. thinks the world of this guy. But here's Dane's tweet that you just referenced. And again, this was the USC Pro Day. So 4.48 to 4.53. That's a pretty big range, Sarah, when you think about milliseconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, KP, we know what you're referencing here. And that brings us to the best super chat of the day so far. The James Varner says, now to be clear, he's not saying it was a good take, but James says that Bobby's right.
Horrible take.
He says Bobby's right. This isn't a horrible take. So there is 2 different ways to take this. But I'd like to think he's coming to my defense here.
I think he is coming to your defense.
Making it the top super chat of the day.
Oh, I thought Kobe's was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Thank you, James. And thanks to everybody for spending part of your Fridays with us here inside the vault. Over 2,600 concurrents and counting. If you please like the video on your way in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership this offseason. We'll get back to more super chats as they come in. Sarah?
Yes.
What are you laughing about?
The chat said that James is glazing a glazer.
So who wrote that? Which mother effer wrote that?
Let's just move on.
I'm scrolling up. And now we got 2 more super chats. Thanks. Mike Green's going to be eating like Diane Keaton with Trey opposite him. Trey commanding so much attention equals wide open spaces for Mike. Yeah, maybe. Maybe Mike ends up getting the chance to benefit from Trey's arrival the most. Or maybe Nnamdi Madubuike and a reemergence of him will allow Trey to benefit the most, much like Jadeveon and Kyle did during that historic run for Nnamdi in the middle in 2023. Maybe all the above can happen.
I want everybody eating.
Maybe all the above can happen as well. Kaifi Profin's here for you.
Says, can y'all play the viral clip of Ruben Bain running the bag drill for the chat, please, so they can see what we're in on if he falls?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to. Can you send it to us since we're live right now? That'd be nice if you can send it to us since we're live. Unless it's just a quick little easy Twitter search. Oh yeah, I got it right here. Okay. Yeah, I'll bring it in.
It's Friday.
I was gonna say, why not? We got some DaCosta good stuff coming up here in a minute, but We'll get this up right now. Here comes Ruben on the bag drill as requested by Kaifi Profin. And we'll go ahead and mute this in a second here just because there is some background music. So stand by. There's Ruben showing off some lateral quickness and, man, dexterity and ferociousness. How about the way he drops his hip? Get ready for this right here. Bang! The turn of that corner was swift.
The hip, that was nice. I just keep looking at his arms. Watch when he swings his arm. Ooh.
Well, hold on a second.
I want him to drop to 14. I have to talk about his tiny arms.
Yeah, he's got tiny arms, boy, but watch
They're
that
powerful,
watch that final bag right here. Whoa. The second to final bag, excuse me. That thing was, I mean, he turned that corner violently. Wow. Okay. Kaifi, I assume this is the one that you're referring to there. Ruben Bain, who showed up and showed out in that national championship game. Yeah, it was a loss, but man, was he a game wrecker for them. AMT 008 for you.
Says, do you guys think that other NFL teams will still do with the Ravens post-Max trade deal? Yes. Emphatically, yes.
Yes. And they already have since everything went down. Cincinnati. Well, technically, Trey was a free agent, so it was more so them dealing with agents and agents dealing with them. But we'll see if any kind of trade partners come in the days ahead as well. And that'll segue us nicely into our next conversation, because I know that you might be calling Eric's bluff on something. So,
yeah.
And I think you might be onto something too with that. Pete says, is a Super Bowl the difference between first ballot for Lamar?
Maybe for first ballot.
See, the first ballot conversation is hard because it's incomplete, meaning Lamar's resume is incomplete. If he continues to stack seasons the way that he is,
yeah,
and racks on, let's say, another MVP or two over the next 10 years, I mean, that's first ballot worthy without the Super Bowl. He's universally
I think he's just in, right? He's just in, probably first ballot. I don't know who else is going to retire the same year as him, but
well, I think maybe the way you could be said is, being that it's incomplete, he's in today. The first ballot conversation's incomplete. But if he continues his statistical tirade and when I say that, his statistical dominance, his winning percentage, which is up over 70%, and the accolades that continue to follow, whether that be all pros, MVPs, or both, I think you can pretty much guarantee that you're looking at a first ballot Hall of Famer here. But that part is incomplete as of now. Chris Dixon is celebrating 6 months of us for you.
He says, Bobby and Sarah, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Chris. He says, Sarah, I'm proud of the way you went off the other day. Just watched that episode, #epic.
How about that? He's proud of the way you went off. Proud. Yeah. I like that. That's cool. Pride. Yeah, I got pride in my partner as well, Chris. Appreciate you and all your support for us over 6 months as a channel Voltron.
Sometimes do you ever think I go overboard, though? Like, do you think I was a little bit overboard?
I mean, look, if Diana was watching that, look, you and I have already had conversations off the air. If Diana's watching that and she doesn't know you the way we do, the way I do, she's like, why is this chick yelling at me? Why is she so intense about this? But if she knew you the way that we all do and the way that I do on an intimate level as a friend, I think you're able to parse through it.
Yeah. Well, I still feel the same way.
You do.
It really brings it. Here's what usually brings it out of me is reputation destroying or reputation tarnishing. Like, have your take, do your thing, but like just so hard 100% their shadiness after you just reported that they spoke or they brought in 4 or 5 different independent doctors, and then like insinuating, well, but then not even realizing that you're admitting that there might be something wrong long term because you say, well, this deal wasn't about 2030 anyway. It's like, forget you. Of course it's about 2030 when they're giving up as much as they're given. See, I shouldn't even have talked about it again. It's just starting to fire me up again. I still feel the same way.
There were some tough components there. And you're right. When reputation's at stake and you go from and you make it unclear whether or not you're reporting versus commentating, that's a slippery slope right there.
Yeah.
And that was what the interview consisted of on the Dan Patrick show.
Yeah.
So she tiered that line a little bit. And when it's something as serious as those accusations, yeah, that can be a tough pill to swallow.
It's also why I go so hard for Lamar. Like, okay, if like people can have their different takes on Lamar, it's the reputation tarnishing that like gets under my skin. That's all.
AMT 008 writes us, and he says, do you think Lamar will hold off on an extension until the Ravens win a Super Bowl within his current contract? And if not, he'll explore other teams? I think you could be led to believe that there's a moment of time where, with all the newness around him, perhaps he wants to see how things start to take shape with the new look of this organization and with his future on the line.
Yeah. I don't think Super Bowl. I mean, he's obviously waiting for something, right? When the owner and comes out as strong as Steve Bisciotti did in January and is like putting it on blast. Like, here's what I want to do. I want to make him the richest quarterback. I want to do it before free agency, and it doesn't happen. Then, if two sides are motivated, Bobby, contracts can go down real quick.
Yeah,
real quick. And it seemed to me that Steve Bisciotti was very motivated. So I don't know that Lamar Jackson's waiting for a Super Bowl. I don't know if it's as simple as what Eric DeCosta said, which is that they run out of time and there's, I don't know, some contract language that isn't worked out, or if Lamar's waiting for something else. I don't know. But usually when two sides are motivated, you can get this done very quickly. So Lamar's waiting for something.
This is fun. Tank says, Big Surra, don't take no mess. We respect it. And let's be clear. There's a lot of people that show up daily because of your passion. They want to inject it into their veins, your passion. So
okay.
I
like to be passionate. I just sometimes
both recognize that.
Yeah.
Nate says, why is this chick yelling at me?
That he was quoting you.
He is. You think that was bad? Go ahead and slander Lamar. She ain't seen nothing. Love you guys.
It's so true, though.
Oh, Nate. Funny stuff. Appreciate you guys. Fun Friday currently underway here inside the vault. We're glad you guys are all with us. It's been a heck of a week, and we got more content coming up right now. Sarah, was Eric DeCosta lying? That's where we begin the show.
With what, saying what? Which part? Because he's well known and is on record saying that he knows how to tell a lie, but lying in regards to what is your question?
For starters, part of what he said earlier today at his introductory press conference for Trey Hendrickson, his newest Raven, is as follows. This team is going to look different come September. We're excited about that. And as Jeff goes on to say, he said they probably won't make any huge moves in the week ahead, but he feels like there will be opportunities to improve the roster and they'll bring more free agents in the building. Here's EDC himself at the podium.
Been a draft-focused team, draft-centric. We have 11 picks. We've got a lot of work to do. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be looking at some players over the next couple of weeks. We will be, certainly. Probably have some players visit. We'll look at some guys. Are we going to go out and break the bank? Probably not. I think we've broken the bank in some ways over the last week. But we have opportunities to get better as a team with the draft. Excited about where we stand. I think we filled some holes in the depth chart, which I know Coach Mentor likes. We don't have quite as many open boxes, and we've added a lot of talent at different important positions, which should make us more strategic and be more focused in the draft, which I think helps any decision maker, just in terms of targeting certain players and positions and just not having quite as many holes in different things. So, I think we'll get into the later part of this month. Our coaches are going on pro days and working guys out, which is important. Our coaches are doing a lot of work on the draft and free agency still. Our scouts are busy. We will meet in April with our coaches to talk about the draft, which is probably our most significant set of meetings that we have. We'll get the board set up, and we'll be ready to go. So I think we're excited about that. I can't wait for the off-season program to start in a few weeks. I think it's, April 6th or 7th, something like that. It can be exciting this year, a new change with Jesse and the coaches and players. I know are excited. I've heard from a lot of players, so that's exciting as well. So I think this team's going to look different come September. We're excited about it. A lot of opportunities for us to get better, and we plan to do that.
Not breaking the bank. You buying that over the coming days and weeks?
Here's what I am buying. I'm buying that the team's going to look very different because they still have a lot of roster holes to fill in the gaps. Are they going to break the bank the way they just did for Trey Hendrickson? Okay. Like there's levels to this. Okay. They obviously, broke the bank and maybe 10 more for Max Crosby. Okay. Then that fell through. Then they did break the bank for Trey Hendrickson. Do I think they're going to have another Trey Hendrickson-like move? No. But do I think he's got a couple big moves still, at least one biggish move still to go? Yes, I do. And I just think it's funny that he just threw that in there. Like usually he says the opposite. Like, I'm confident we'll get this done. I'm confident we'll get that done. But he just threw in there like we're not going to break the bank. I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be some big-ish moves inside the trenches. And Bobby, as we see here, the Ravens still have a lot of cap space. Now, we don't know the numbers of how much they're going to put Trey Hendrickson's, what they're going to do with Trey Hendrickson's money this year on the cap. I don't know how much they're going to backload it. But as of, yesterday? After they created $40 million in cap space with Lamar, the Ravens ranked number 3 in the league in cap space. Ravens are usually in the bottom 3, not the top 3. So, yeah, he's got a lot of holes to fill, so he can't break the bank on everybody. And maybe if he does get an extension done with Lamar, they're not going to have as much savings as they do now because they'll have to put some of his if he gets a new deal, it'll move up from I think it's the $35 million cap hit that he's on right now. So maybe they'd put on another 10 million or so, but they have more money than they usually do. And I think he's intent on still building the interior of both sides of the trenches. So I'm not totally buying it now.
I kind of agree.
Go ahead.
I'm with you. I feel that. There's a sense of urgency that feels different this time around. It's off season. And they have the ability to do it. And the messaging and the behavior and where they find themselves almost in a mode of desperation, in a sense, to reach the mountaintop. And knowing that they now have this new staff and this new regime that's required more because of Jesse's resume, perhaps. And because of what they just saw unfold over the last 2 seasons in Seattle with Mike McDonald, kind of get the sense that there is this all gas, no brakes mentality right now, and they can feasibly live like that, which to your point earlier on is not typically where they find themselves in this department right here on the screen from a cap space perspective. Eric's also been making his rounds this week, Sarah.
Yeah. So this is a long list. So in this press conference, it was more focused on Trey. And then he just talked about what he did right there, which is I'm not going to break the bank, but the team's going to look, different. It's definitely going to look different. He got more into the weeds with 105.7 The Fan last night. Bobby, I spliced together from I think it was a 15-minute interview. I spliced together a bunch of different quotes of his talking about where he is going to still augment this offense. So I'm going to let all of them play, and then we'll go ahead and pick them apart afterwards one by one.
With Trey now on the roster, are you still looking for pass rush? Is that still a position that you're looking to add?
It is, and that could be free agency. That could be certainly the draft. Again, we feel like this is an opportunity for us. We've seen what Jesse Minter's defense can do with pass rushers, and also how he's able to create a pass rush. So we see a great opportunity for us to be a really, really disruptive defense this year. That's something that I feel is lacking in last year's defense, certainly. That burden falls on me, and I want to make sure that this year we can get after the quarterback. We are looking at defensive linemen in free agency. We're certainly also in the draft. I feel confident that we'll have a chance to add one or two guys throughout this, upcoming, 2 months or so, as we continue to build our best team. And I think we understand the importance of it. And I think by the time we start playing games in September, we will feel really, really strong about our offensive line, regardless of whoever it is. We're going to have some really good players out there. And I think our front seven is going to be very effective this year.
And how do you feel about the wide receiver position for now? And is that a possibility at 14?
The guy that I'm excited about is Tez. And, Tez Walker is a guy that showed flashes last year of being a home run threat, made some really, really nice plays for us. And I would expect to see another jump this year. I think in looking at free agency, there are still some players out there. I think it's a pretty strong year in the draft as well. And there are some players that we would anticipate potentially being there for us in the first round at 14, or if we trade back in the first round, some really good football players scattered throughout all other rounds, actually, that will give us a chance to add somebody else into the equation. That, we're trying to find probably another guy, maybe two more tight ends when it comes down to it. In the past, as you guys have known, that we've used a fullback, and we're probably going to segue to probably more of a tight end look than a traditional fullback look.
Okay. Lots of stuff in there, Bobby. So he says for sure they're going to add more pass rushers, and he emphasized how important that is with Jesse Minter. Now, do I think I still think he has got one biggish move left in him. I have a feeling that's going to be interior defensive line, maybe offensive line. I don't think that's going to be pass rusher again. Again, I think they'll augment it, but I don't think that's where the big move is going to be. That's what Trey was for. He did say, he's like, I'm going to add 1 to 2 defensive linemen, 1 to 2 in free agency. He might trade for one there. I feel like I keep seeing smoke around trading for an interior defensive lineman. So that's a thought. When he was asked about wide receiver, he mentioned again draft or free agency. He said there will be some at 14, and then that's where he brought up, or if we trade back. I promise you he's looking to see if he could probably, it wouldn't surprise me if he moved back. And then he said 1 to 2 more tight ends because he confirmed it. No fullbacks for them this year. They're not doing it. They're going to go the tight end blocking. They already got one guy, and he's still saying maybe 1 or 2 more. So those are all still moves he's got to make. One of them, I think, could be on the bigger end.
And speaking of moves, Brian McFarland noted a number of things here with a trigger date if the following players are on the roster at 4 p.m. on Sunday. Eric has said a couple different things, Sarah, that kind of catches your attention. 1, that they're not expecting to break the bank. And 2, that he's going to have a quiet, restful weekend with his wife, Lacey. For Lacey's sake, for the DeCosta's sake, I hope they do. But what you have here on the screen is suggesting that, I don't know, are there decisions to be made? We'll see. If the following players are on the roster at 4 p.m. on Sunday, Marlon Humphrey's $4 million roster bonus is due. Brian says expect a revised deal if he wants to stay. Roquan's $4 million RB due. Bateman's $4 million option bonus is due. If they're trading him, you'll want to do so before then. It's more costly to trade if after that. And then Justice Hill, his $250,000 roster bonus is due. So a couple roster bonuses, 3 of them to be clear, and then an option bonus involved with Rashad Bateman, who's had some some smoke around his name as a potential trade target for other teams throughout the course of this offseason, Sarah. And that's probably mostly because of some of his social media behaviors and also some of his injuries that he's dealt with over the last couple of years. But when we know that when he's not injured, his ceiling so far, at least, has been over 700 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns, which he gave them in 2024.
So what we're saying here is on Monday when we do our next show, unless there's an emergency stream, which is always a possibility these days, on Monday we should know the fate of these 4 players better. They're not going to announce if a revised deal, so a reporter's going to have to get to the bottom of that one. And Humphrey doesn't have an agent either, does he?
Marlon is representing himself at this point in his career.
Right. I might have to, I don't know. Might have to see if Marlo will talk about that. But we'll know. We'll know if Bateman is still here on Monday. He'll have had that option bonus, and so they're like, well, we wouldn't be getting rid of him. Justice Hill, we talked about as a potential cap casualty, but now that Keaton Mitchell is, where did he sign again? Is it the Chargers? Yeah.
Nice deal for him. 2 years. Yep.
2 years. Good deal for him. So Justice Hill, we'll know by Monday where all these guys are at, because they will have gotten their money from the Ravens if the Ravens let these kick in.
Correct. And meanwhile, they're already looking at potential replacements. Now, when I say replacement, it could be for depth purposes. It could be training camp bodies. It could be, hey, we're looking at Tyler Linderbaum's successor, and it could be a number of different guys that are competing this summer. But former Colts center Danny Pinter visited the Ravens. That's according to the NFL's transaction wire. DeCosta said Wednesday that the team would bring multiple offensive linemen to Baltimore over the next few weeks. You just heard that clip. He appeared in 77 Colts games from 20 to 25. He started 10 of those, including 1 in 25. So again, this is most likely for depth purposes, Sarah, and the beginning of a process of figuring out what is out there. There's not many left in terms of starting eligible. What, Lloyd Cushenberry, perhaps one of the only left out there. And I honestly haven't looked in the last 12 hours. He may be signed, but I don't think he is yet. So the first of what hopes to be a multi-layered process, both through free agency and the draft, to try and figure out what is life like after Linderbaum.
Yeah, I'm looking back at his other PFF stats, because we have up there for last year, which he obviously didn't, doesn't seem to have gotten a lot of, action. Probably going back to 2021, he had a 75.9 overall grade from PFF. Let's see here. 2024, he had a 68.6. So yeah, not the guy that is making you feel great about replacing Linderbaum, but like you said, perhaps some depth. And they're going to be looking at a lot of guys. They're going to be bringing in a lot of guys, but I mean, there's not a lot of options in free agency.
To be clear, last year he started one game, actually played in 17, but it was on a reserve type role. So not a lot out there, which again reflects those numbers over there.
Here, let me look at his snaps exactly. How many snaps he had last year? I've got it open here. In 2025, he had 139 snaps. 139, 78 were pass block, 61 were run block.
There you go.
And he allowed 1 sack.
And speaking of Tyler Linderbaum, Kyle Hamilton is in his feelings and put up a hilarious tweet that actually had Tyler, who's not one to show a bunch of emotion, rolling on the floor laughing. At least that's the emojis that he used when this tweet was sent last night, Sarah, and you brought this one in. What the heck what are we looking at in this image?
I'm so mad at myself because I literally have never seen this cartoon before, although I've seen it referenced. So I put this picture in ChatGPT and I was like, hey, what's the name of this? So I can sound somewhat educated on cartoons. But I shut down that tab, but I'm going back to ChatGPT, and I bet everybody in the chat can get there. Okay. Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas. Yeah.
Phineas and Ferb.
Okay. Wow. I finally know something, but I wasn't able to recall.
Did you watch that cartoon?
No, but I wasn't able to recall it by the photo, but as soon as Phineas and Ferb came into the live chat, that recalled something. So no, I didn't watch it, but I'm aware of it.
Now, when was this cartoon? Was I in my 30s when this came out? There's no way I would know what this is. Buford is the guy that Linderbaum is playing right now. And I've seen pictures of him before, and Linderbaum does look like Buford. Does fit. But I'm sure it's funnier for those that actually watch the cartoon.
Tyler himself thinks it's hilarious. What he didn't find humorous is being asked about the Max Crosby situation yesterday at his introductory press conference.
Yeah. Obviously, I can't speak on the situation. Don't know the details and what all went on, but obviously, would love Max to be here and play with him. And I've gone against him. He's not fun to go against. How we have to scout him and his just ability to lead a team is pretty special. So excited to be on his team.
Sarah, they're going to quickly realize out there in the Vegas media cohort that he's not the quote. He's the guy. Let's be clear. He's the guy. He's not the quote.
He's going to help your rookie quarterback, but he is not going to help your clicks or ratings or anything like that. Just let him block the defensive lineman. Don't ask him any questions. He's not going to talk about Max Crosby and the Ravens. Come on now.
Nope. But that was good stuff, as was Kyle's Twitter activity. Whenever Kyle doesn't tweet often, but when he does, he typically does not miss. So good stuff there. And Tyler, of course, is officially a Las Vegas Raider. That was made official yesterday, going pen to paper and also sitting down with a couple other new signees in Vegas at that press conference.
Okay, Chad is saying that cartoon came out in the early 2000s. So that was like, I'm in my early 20s with no kids. So that's why it completely missed me. Now, I could have seen it if my kids came in the 2009 was my first kid, and he didn't start watching cartoons till later. So, man, I have an excuse.
2009. Think about that. Wow. To go back and revisit your life then, to be a fly on the wall. Crazy. You've seen it all.
With babies, lots of babies.
You've seen it all.
I had my first 3 babies I had in 3.5 years. Then I waited 4 years and had a 4th. That was a crazy time. When I was working at the Ravens, and I did that podcast, Man of the Crowd. I was writing late for work. I was doing some of the TV and radio stuff. I was the editor, and I had 3 babies in 3.5 years. That was a crazy time of life.
I'm sure you look back at it it was just a blur. Like all the weeks and months and years blend into one another, right?
It was a blur.
I bet. And now no one's out of the house yet, but like Gardy's creeping up on that time. And between all the activities that everyone's involved with among your 4, keeps you busy. And then you're a full-time podcaster for the last 4 years too. So maybe you'll look back in 10 years from now and realize that these times you're going to do the same exact thing at just a different level of blur.
This is way better. Way better. I definitely work a fraction of the times when I work for the Ravens.
You've said it time and time again that you feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not to take away from your experience there at all. It's easier. You enjoy it more. And that's, you know,
It was a good season of my life, and this is a good season of my life. It's all good. Yeah. Not that we need to go deep into that. Let's get back to Super Chats.
DHB Senior's just dumping in all the generosity he's got left in the tank today. And he says, Bobby, I agree with Sarah. You can't compare Burrow to Marino. Well, wait a second.
Another great Super Chat from Douglas H. Brown.
Douglas, this was answering, I think this was in response to someone who said, which was the Super Chat that I was responding to, because it was Super Bowls versus accolades. I know that Dan won MVPs, but he never won the big one. That didn't take away from his Hall of Fame candidacy. If Joe continues to play at a high level, but doesn't get a Super Bowl win, but maybe an MVP or two, that seals it. And yet, if he continues to be injury prone often, which he has been throughout his 8 years, that's going to be a big knock against his candidacy. You're looking at me like you're not satisfied. I think I've been fair.
I'm just.
I do. I really do. Genuinely.
Okay.
Genuinely.
I'm sure you are genuine.
Buck Morris.
It's a genuinely bad take.
That's terrible. To me, there's definitely been ones where in the aftermath, I'm like, I definitely see where Sarah's coming from on that. She was deserving of pushing back as much as she did. This is not one of those times. Buck Morris has become a channel member, a new Voltron. Buck, welcome to channel membership. Great to have you on board. Mac Wavy's with us.
He says, to be honest, I 100% hope it was shady business, he says. The Raiders thought everything was sweet by severely overpaying Lindy and pawning Max's bum knee on us for 2 picks. Well, if you think that's all true, then it was the Raiders that were dirty, not the Ravens.
Listen, I don't think anybody's upset over there they overpaid for Linderbaum. He's going to make Fernando Mendoza's life easier. 28 annually I know it's shattering the market, but they're looking at him like he's the savior over there right now. I guess that's up for the rest of the league though to laugh at, right? And maybe that's what what Wavy's doing right there, given that they gave him some significant money. AMT008 says, is anyone else tired of the A.J. Brown or Diggs pickup predictions? I don't see EDC making any kind of move like that because what is there to offer that'll benefit both teams? Plus, the Diggs off-field drama will not fit for us. I mean, there's cases to be made. AJ's contract, Sarah, and the asking price is astronomical. And like we've discussed at length over the last couple of weeks, there's a legal component in play for Stephon that could potentially punish him in the form of suspensions coming up in 26. So there are knocks for both scenarios. Whether or not anybody is tired of it, I can't speak for anybody in that regard, but clearly AMT is. And that brings us to Jerry DeMonico, another one.
Says any free agent worth breaking the bank for is gone. He will make more moves though. As for the ton of cash, maybe they need it. Maybe they need it to outbid Giants for Lele.
He's still out there on the open market, by the way.
Jokes.
JD is still available. Where's he going to end up? Where's Fa'alele going to end up? Will it be in New York? He's still out there in the latter half of the first week of free agency in the new league year. Captain Jay Schaefer is back, and he writes, thank you for thanking me about my service. It was my honor. I love the United States and the Ravens. No need to thank me in the future. Message received, and thank you. Let's roll, Ravens. Love us. We love you, and message received as well. Thank you for another super chat, Captain. And that brings us to Lisa.
She says, you guys won me over. I try to support our local content creators. Didn't join Vault because of some of Bobby's old takes.
And she doesn't go on to reference which ones those are. Look at this.
The chat is killing me today.
Look at this. Look at this.
You didn't join because of Bobby's old takes. But perhaps we've all moved on.
Lisa, you're not even going to reference which ones rub you the wrong way?
Talk about an underhanded compliment.
Totally. And on top of that, how can I rip her for that? Because she becomes a channel member after.
Yes, thank you, Lisa.
So I'll hold off on the temptation and just say, Lisa, it's great to have you here.
Oh, please keep these coming. This is a good Laughter Friday.
Zayad writes, bring Calais in, develop FUB, EDC, quote, excited for Rashad. Yeah, that was one of the takeaways from his interview on the fan, Sarah, that he's excited for Rashad Bateman. That was in the same breath that he said that Devontae Walker, he's got high expectations for him, a former 4th-round pick out of North Carolina. So, and you better believe that Aeneas Peebles, their day 3 pick out of Virginia Tech last year, who transferred to Virginia Tech after beginning his career at Duke, I would imagine he's excited because Harlan Bauer, who he worked with directly at Duke, is now the new outside linebackers coach in Baltimore. So that'll be something to watch in terms of his development and the familiarity there. As far as Calais is concerned, Sarah, if he wants to continue to play, I kind of floated this out over the last week. Could he potentially be a Brent Urban type replacement and be brought back to Baltimore? I know he still has a place. I think he still has a house in Baltimore last time I checked. And there was some smoke around his camp and the Ravens at previous deadlines in November in recent seasons. Wonder if he is still planning on playing. He's getting up there in age. He's been close to 2 freaking decades last time I checked. What was his draft class? He was like, wasn't he like 2000 like 2008?
Let me look that up.
Or 9? Or maybe I'm a little off. He's been around for a long time. Calais has.
Calais was drafted in 2008. You're correct. Second round, 50th overall pick.
Good for him. That is incredible longevity. It really is.
2008 is when John Harbaugh was hired and Joe Flacco was drafted.
Imagine that. Thanks, Zayad. And Anai says, I agree with Sarah. Horrible take, Bobby. Okay, let me ask you this, Anai, fairly and politely. Do you not like the take because it's a Bengals-related rivalry thing? Or are you looking at it objectively? I think it's a fair question to ask.
I think I'm looking at it objectively. I can't speak for everybody, but
you would tell me if you weren't, because you've done that before in the past.
Yeah, I don't mind admitting when I'm biased.
I think his projected Hall of Fame candidacy Well, whatever. We're not going to go back down
All
there.
right,
We're gonna
listen.
go down a
Lamar
rabbit hole.
Jackson's projected Hall of Fame candidacy is a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Joe Burrow's projected is great player just missing out. Unless he changes patterns of injury and actually gets an MVP or a Super Bowl.
I guess we will see.
We'll see.
Spot Rack says that
I've
the
been
Ravens.
wrong before.
Yeah, as have I. The Ravens processed a full salary conversion of Lamar, converting $49.95 million of salary into signing bonus, clearing $39.96 million of 2026 cap space. The updated cap hits as things stand today. 26 will be $34.54 million, as we discussed earlier. 27 will be 84. Yeah, I mean, obviously it becomes untenable after this. 27 will be 84.49, and then that void year in 28 would be 42.47 million.
Lamar is in complete control.
Yeah.
Complete control.
Yeah, he is.
All the leverage.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Ravens just $85 million next year. And that is why I didn't play it, but on the 105.7 The Fan, Eric DeCosta said he will do everything possible to make sure that an extension is done.
Just ran out of time, Just ran out of time. Here is the Kenyon Sadiq slide. Matt Miller is quoted for saying, "Let's give Lamar Jackson some help. Kenyon Sadiq can be that red zone threat that the Ravens really used Isaiah Likely as the last 2 years." And again, is potentially talking about him landing to the Ravens and making a bold play at 14. He's the tight end out of Oregon who won the combine, has some good tape out there as well that we need to dig into further. And right now, he is a projected top half of the first round pick. We'll see how that changes moving forward. Daniel Jeremiah has him as his 13th overall prospect in the entire draft.
Woo.
And again, that 4.39, Sarah, I get it. There's more to be said than just how you perform at the combine, i.e. Kyle Hamilton. But Kenyon went off.
Yeah, I get it.
He went off 4.39. And when you add that in to what he did as the vertical jump, which was the second best ever by a tight end, and his broad jump, which was the third best ever by a tight end, on top of that 4.39 being the best ever by a tight end, it just... And you pair that with Mark Andrews in this Declan Doyle new offense, they're going to be heavy 12 personnel. It's just enticing if he's there at 14. I'm sure we'll have this conversation a time or two over the next month or so.
He's intriguing for sure. If you had Venga and him, you're choosing which one?
If Venga and Sadiq are both on the board, I think you can still protect Lamar and go away from Venga in that spot right there. I do.
Oh.
I think you can still sit. Hear me out though.
Okay.
I think because remember, all off season long, you and I have been lockstep in the idea that the number one goal should be ensuring what was the weakest link is no longer last year. But I still think that can be done outside of taking Venga in the first round. I still think that can be done in day 2. I still think that can be done in free agency. And knowing the success that they've had at the tight end position over the last 8 years and knowing what they just lost in production, I think you go and get your likely replacement right there and a bona fide playmaker. And I think you take Sadiq and you make a bold play. I get it. It's bold, right? Because we're talking about a projected plug-and-play starter day 1 in Venga, who was a force to be reckoned with at Penn State. Does not allow sacks. I get all that. That is super enticing. But I still think, based on the moves that you've already made so far this year, with Dwayne Ledford coming in, with a plug-and-play potential left guard in John Simpson, the development and the potential that Emory Jones brings to play, and all the picks that you have after the first round to the tune of 10, including a boatload on day 3, I still think you can successfully do that and ensure that you're protecting Lamar adequately in 26 and still get a playmaker in Sadiq.
I want more than adequate. And to counter what you just said, the Ravens are also fantastic at finding Pro Bowl tight ends later in the draft.
They are. They are.
And
They're also
and he compares them to Likely. I mean, I loved Likely, but Likely wouldn't have been worth the number 14 pick.
No, he wouldn't have, which is why he slipped to the 4th. But he didn't have the measurables that Sadiq did. He didn't have the college tape that Sadiq did. I think this would be a bold move, but one that I'd be willing to take a flyer on. I know it's more than a flyer. I'd be willing to turn the card in.
I like that you're projecting today. You usually don't. You're usually a I want to see it to believe it kind of guy.
Yeah,
Today,
I'm trying to.
You got all sorts of projections.
Yeah.
How about this? I'll give you a TBD on Sadiq. I don't think I've given him enough of a look because I've just written off tight ends in the first round. So
I get it.
We'll revisit this.
I get it. Look, I get it. It's hard. It's hard after what happened in 25. I get it. I'm just trying not to be a prisoner of the moment in the sense that a part of me also with this calculation is trying to put myself in that draft room and knowing that best player available could potentially come into play there philosophically. And Sadiq might trump Vanga in that regard. So couple different things. Couple different lenses I'm trying to have while looking at it.
I'm just saying, if Lamar's running for his life, Sadiq's not getting the ball.
If Lamar's running for his life, then Sadiq's not getting the ball. He couldn't off schedule.
So you just went on the let's just throw it on Lamar and make him be Superman kind of train right there.
Well, no.
What is that noise? What is that noise?
No. Wait a second now. I just told you that I think they can adequately fill their weakest link. I think they can do that elsewhere besides at 14. And they've already taken steps
just think about this. They just lost Linderbaum, who was supposed to be the foundation for new guards that come in. You've got John Simpson, who is fine, but he's not anybody to write home about. And we're projecting Emory Jones, and we have no clue who the center is. And you're like, they can figure out all three positions elsewhere. Just get Sadiq. Sadiq's not going to get the ball. He's a dependent position.
Well, at guard. I think they can do so at guard. Because Vanga's not going to come in and play center for you. I think they can.
No, I know, but that's why you need somebody who's out of this world at the guard position, because you're not going to have, again, if it was Linderbaum that was coming back and then you had John Simpson, then it's okay, that's fine. But you don't have Linderbaum coming back, and you have an unproven left guard and a okay right guard. So get Vanga. Move guys around for sure, but at least Vanga, is going to be, or you don't know, but you have a very good likelihood of him just being the plug and play guy from day one and will be great. And we're just playing around with they can just figure it out later in later rounds. Ugh, I don't like it.
I think they're capable of both through free agency and those 10 picks that would come after the 14th if they were to go a skill position player, if they were to go the tight end route.
They're also capable of getting that tight end elsewhere. Sure.
I still think that they can effectively, you know what? I think they can both scenarios that you and I are talking about right now, I think can be done outside of the 14th. If they go with Vanga, then they can go get somebody to pair nicely with Mark later on in the weekend. If they go with Sadiq, then I think they can also put Lamar in a better position for success protection-wise outside of the 14. I do believe that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think people are not putting enough respect on John Simpson's name.
How much respect? So I'm saying he's fine. What word would you use to describe him?
An upgrade from last year.
Well, yeah. Any signing was going to be an upgrade from Fa'alele.
Even from Voorhees at the left guard. Because if Simpson
what did
played
he do?
But
Voorhees was in contention with Fa'alele of having worse grades than him.
According to PFF and some metrics, which puts him in a box a little bit. But
according to anybody that's watching tape, get Cole on here, your other co-host from the collective.
all 17 games were started 2 years ago en route to the AFC Championship game. And while the last 2 years as a member of the Jets, the pre-snap penalties had to get cleaned up a little bit, and his discipline's got to get cleaned up. He's a mauler, and I think he'll be good in an upgrade for them at left guard. He'll be good in the run game, and he'll be durable for them. They need that. Voorhees wasn't. He was last year, but he wasn't the year prior. And so I think people need to be, in my opinion, a little bit more aware of what they have in Simpson. We are projecting with Emery. You're correct about that because we just don't have a lot of tape on him. But I do like what they have in Dwayne Ledford. I like his resume. I like his track record. And I like what he's going to do in the run game. And so there's more work to be done here in order for me to feel really good about this take of mine today. But I'd be very receptive to the idea of bringing in this kind of freak to pair with Mark, have at Lamar's disposal, and then figure out the rest of those glaring weaknesses up and down the line in other areas of the offseason. Tutu Atwell is a pass catcher that could have been an option for the Ravens because, well, only because he's been working out with Lamar in South Florida. Other than that, I don't think there's been any smoke unless it just hasn't been reported on, but he's off the market. He's going to Miami. He's going to be signed as, I guess, Malik Willis's new target. Malik is expected to be the guy there, following Jeff Hafley to the Dolphins. And being that Tutu is from Miami, it's a homecoming for him. So good for him. He's been working out with Lamar in Hollywood. And just wanted to throw that out there. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Sarah, who spent what? Was it less than 2 weeks? Less than a month? I can't remember with the Ravens. He is signing a one-year deal worth up to $6 million with the Bills. So we'll see what Buffalo gets out of him. And they also brought in just a day or so ago Bradley Chubb. So it's been a busy week for Buffalo. And of course, they traded for DJ Moore last week. And Jonathan Allen, Sarah, he was one of our poll options yesterday in terms of who the Ravens might want to target next. Take him off the list. So Javon Hargrave is off the list. Bradley Chubb is off the list. Jonathan Grenard is back on the list, but he is still on the list in Minnesota, but it had to be via trade, and they'd have to give him a new contract. Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle, he's going to the AFC North. He'll be a part of the Bengals, 2 years, $28 million. And it looks like Jeremy Fowler says that Cincinnati pursued him aggressively. So just as we're kind of keeping up to date, Sarah, with what could be next with what they have left cap-wise, you can take him off the list. What do you have here?
That was the wrong one. Sorry. There's a news that the chat's talking about that just came down the pike of a cornerback who, let me see here. Image file.
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed.
L'Jarius Sneed. There we go. L'Jarius Sneed, Adam Schefter. Titans are releasing cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, which will save Tennessee $11.4 million against the cap per sources. Titans informed Sneed's agents, the Katz brothers, of their decision today. Sneed will now become a free agent. Now, what's nice about this, because he was cut, it obviously doesn't hurt with the compensatory picks, which I'm sure a lot of people hate hearing about, but it is what Eric DeCosta and the Ravens think about. So there is a cornerback that is on the market.
Yeah, it would have been maybe a little bit more enticing had they not go the Cheeto route, but
yep.
I mean, he's got money to spend, so never say never. Speaking of the Minnesota Vikings that we referenced a minute ago, Kyler Murray is heading there, Sarah. He's owed $36.8 million from Arizona, and his one-year contract with the Vikings will be for the veteran league minimum. This is very similar to what Russell Wilson did a couple of years ago. That's what Pittsburgh took advantage of because of what Denver was on the hook for. So now Kyler goes to join a room with J.J. McCarthy, who's the former number 10 overall pick just a year ago. And Kyler Murray leaves Arizona, goes to Kevin O'Connell's quarterback factory that is the Minnesota Vikings. And this will be really interesting to see how they play this messaging-wise. Is it a quarterback competition? Or is it Kyler's job to lose as the more senior, maybe even more potential, with more upside quarterback, given what J.J. McCarthy's put on film so far in a small sample size as a member of the Vikings?
This is just crazy that they had Sam Darnold and then they bet on J.J. and now they've got to go with Kyler. And didn't their GM get fired?
Minnesota. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they clearly thought the Sam Darnold thing. I'm sure it's not the only reason, but
yeah, maybe.
You got rid of him, went with JJ. Sam goes and wins a Super Bowl, and now you're on to the next experiment with Kyler Murray and seeing if he can resurrect his career.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a revolving door there at quarterback in recent seasons. This was probably the best thing I saw on the app yesterday. Papa Flock at DJ Beemore tweeted a photo of Trey Hendrickson and his uncle. And the caption is the best about it. This is the best part. He says, "My uncle just helped Trey." By the way, his uncle is taller than Trey.
Yeah.
Okay. So Papa says, he said he was a nice guy. He didn't know who he was. My uncle started talking about the Ravens and said, "I'm glad we got Trey. He was a great motor. He has a great motor, that is." And my nephew, referring to the guy on the screen here, Papa Flock, said he's awesome. He replied, "Hey, I'm actually Trey." And then that's how this interaction happened. This is the best thing ever. How awesome is that?
That's hilarious because, to your point, Trey is 6'4". So Unc has some height to himself here. Maybe the hat is helping him, but he's right there with Trey.
Well, Unc's slick looking
That's so
too, man.
funny that he's like, how do they even start talking about the Ravens? And he's like, "Yeah, my nephew says Trey's great." Yeah, that's me. I'm pretty great.
This was awesome. I was just loving this. I couldn't repost it fast enough, especially because Unc looks like one of those guys that's going to get you right when you walk into a tailor. Like when you walk into his suit shop, he's going to get you right. And he looks like he's going to get you right.
I feel like you want to go in there.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Willie Snead transitioning to coaching. He is going to be the next offensive quality control coach for Sean Payton in Denver. And he spent many a year with the Ravens. A fan favorite, a good dude more than anything else. And now he's going to go get an opportunity with the Denver Broncos. Congratulations to Willie Snead. Need for Snead. Pat Ricard, Sarah, went pen to paper for the Giants. I know you guys will get a kick out of this or maybe not want it up on the screen, but his quote for John Harbaugh in terms of what he told him after taking the Giants job. Quote, "If you were coaching a Pop Warner football team, I'm interested." Wouldn't you say the same, Sarah, if a coach took a chance on you as an undrafted rookie and then allowed you to basically become a defensive lineman and be in different rooms at once, and then all of a sudden you became a fullback and a perennial Pro Bowler at that?
Yeah. Yeah. And John Harbaugh is keeping the fullback position alive. The Ravens are moving on from that with their new offensive coordinator. So, of course, he's going to go wherever coach is because fullback's a dying breed.
Yep. Good for Pat, man. Undrafted career continues out of Maine. One of the great stories out there. Isaiah Likely goes pen to paper for the Giants. Listened to his press conference last night. Nothing crazy, nothing groundbreaking, but he's excited and already speaking the Giants lingo in that Zoom press conference on their YouTube channel. Another former Raven, Jermaine Illuminor. Jordan Renan tweeted that he had his suit custom made for the special occasion.
It does look
This
clean.
was kind of cool. It was just kind of a nice little story there that Jermaine's career is continuing. And that smile says it all right there. Big day for him. Yeah, no doubt. You brought this in from Linderbaum going pen to paper along with Alohi in Kansas City.
There you go. Just showing all the faces with their new colors, their new teams, and their new contracts.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, there's no shortage of players in and out, player exits, player signings. What a wild, wild week it really was. And happy birthday celebration is in for TJ Tampa, the 4th-round pick in 2024 for the Ravens out of Iowa State. Kind of had his rookie year derailed because of that double sports hernia procedure over the summer during training camp. And then last year was a victim of the number of games or just simply lack of development or competition. So we'll see what year 3 comes of him in a new system with a new coach and a new defensive backs coach as well in Mike Mickens. So happy 24th birthday to TJ Tampa. That brings us to patrons, Anise and Jason Barrett. Fun fact, Sarah. Jason Barrett will be at a bachelor party that I'm involved with and hosting coming up next weekend in Killington, Vermont. Back to Killington I go. My college roommate's getting married in April, draft weekend. As you know, I've already said that a million times, just so everyone knows and isn't blindsided come that weekend. And I am hosting a cabin-style skiing weekend in the sticks of Killington, Vermont. And I'm very excited, and Jason's going to be one of 11 in this cabin.
Nice. Good for
Thanks
you
to
guys.
him. And thanks to Anise for the continued support of our program. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you can visit patreon.com/Ravens Vault Podcast. More super chats have come in. Who did we leave off
Killing
with?
it in super chats today.
No kidding. I
They just
believe we
keep
left
coming.
off with,
We've had 57 total today so far.
goodness gracious, who did we leave off with? Let's see.
Um,
It was Zayad, right? Because he wanted to talk about L'Jarius Sneed released.
no, I think it was.
Well, yeah, this is definitely the one that we haven't had up yet. But he's just
We
letting us
haven't
know.
had it, but I'm just wondering if there was one. Yeah. You're right. This is it.
Yeah. Thanks, Zayad. We just talked about it, and being that they just brought in Cheeto, you would think that they'll not be interested in L'Jarius, but we've seen stranger things.
What
and
do they
as
say? You can never have enough corners.
Ozzy said that for 2 decades. Thanks, Zayad. Anai says, no, objectively, Burrow hasn't done anything. All these wide receivers, and he still has no MVPs or accolades except for a Super Bowl appearance.
Oh, baby. That's another good point with those wide receivers he has. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road again. I think I've said my piece. Dreams is here for you.
They're still going. Joe's not a Hall of Famer unless he can win without 2 number 1 wide receivers.
Mr. Baby Ray writes, hope we make a move at wide receiver in free agency or draft early. Hate what Scheitsberg is doing with the secondary. Might give us some trouble with what we have now. Yeah, I mean, well, look, do you mean they're wide receivers that they're bringing in? What do you mean with their secondary? Because they have Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf now. So do you mean what they're trying to do to the Ravens secondary or what they're doing with their own? Which, quite honestly, I haven't followed off the top of my head, so I'll pull up their depth chart. But knowing, Sarah, that you have 2 big body wide receivers to contest with is something that the Ravens will have to pay attention to with DK and Pittman. They've also got Roman Wilson, who's sort of a slot type player for them. You've also got Ben Skoranek and a talented tight end in Freiermuth. As far as their secondary is concerned, Joey Porter Jr. is a talented player for sure. They have Deshaun Elliott. We know that Jalen Ramsey is not in his prime anymore, but he's still a part of them, and he can make a play at any given point. You've got Jamel Dean out there. You've got Jaquan Brisker. I believe they're bringing back Asante Samuel Jr. So it's a talented defense. It wasn't what it once was last year, that's for sure. But I think it's more impressive what they've done in terms of pass catcher, Sarah. Lost So Serious is here.
Says no one finds 3rd-round tight ends better than the Ravens. Not a fan of spending a first on a tight end, especially with Mark under contract. Trenches.
Okay. The Brisker pickup is good, by the way, as I'm thinking about what they've been up to in free agency here. Thanks, Lost So Serious. Mary H says Birds and, meaning the Ravens, and in Super Bowl 61, root for likely L8 wins. Who's the opponent?
Is he
to the
saying
Ravens?
the Giants? Because she's saying it has a blue heart and a purple heart in likely. So maybe it's saying Ravens versus Giants.
Mary, can you let us know?
Root
Appreciate
for
it.
likely L8 wins. That's what I think she's saying.
Appreciate you. McB. Hell yeah, Bobby. Pregnant in the second. Okay. We've talked a little bit about him in recent weeks. Emmanuel's out of Oregon. He's a guard. So at 45th overall, it seems like is it, by the way, is it McMick or what? McB? What do you go by? Let us know. But anyway, Pregnant is a 6'4", 314 guard, 314-pound guard, that is, out of Oregon. Played at 3 different schools throughout his time in college, Wyoming, USC, and Oregon. But he was a first-team All-American in 25, first-team All-Big Ten, and second-team All-Big Ten in 24. So he had a decorated career. Will he be there at 45? Maybe. Young Brew is here with us.
Says Kyle Pitts. Bobby has the shiny car glasses on.
Pitts is not leaving Atlanta, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Franchise tag him, I believe. Shiny car glasses?
Yeah, you like the new shiny thing. So you're like,
let me tell you, he's shiny, all right. I watched him play in person this past season. He's a beast, Kyle Pitts, but they franchise tagged him for a reason. Am I making that up? I'm pretty sure they did.
I think he's talking about Sadiq, though.
I think he got the tag. Tank says, oh, maybe he was. Are you comparing Pitts to Sadiq?
Oh, maybe.
And Sadiq to Pitts? I don't know. Let us know. Tank says, should have just made Pancake Pat a tight end. Excuse me. Should have just made Pancake Pat a tight end. Shaking my head. DJ
no, I do not want to see him running routes. We've done that with Greg Roman. Devin, says Snead just got released. We could use another CB.
Thanks, DJP. 9 months channel membership, man. Thank you for all the support. Voldegard, your Burrow take was bad, Mr. Bobby. But I also do agree. Simpson, I think, is pretty solid, and I really trust Ledford, so I'm fine with either of the two when we were having the conversation with Vanga versus Sadiq at 14. AMT 008 for you.
He says, say it with me, Bobby. Trenches, trenches, trenches. The trenches matter more.
Yep. They will matter. They can be addressed. MMMCB says Linderbaum center didn't stop Fa'alele from being awful. True. Joe Jenkins is here with us.
Says, according to my phone, we're going after Njoku. ESPN is saying that the Ravens are his most likely landing spot. Thoughts? Well, that sure would put a damper on your Sadiq. Could you imagine Mark Andrews, Njoku, and Sadiq?
No, because they have Smythe and they just paid Smythe. So no, I couldn't imagine it, but it would be fun to imagine it. That would also be a great addition. You do have one player, though, that's out of his prime, and you'd be getting rookie control, team control for 5 years if you were to draft Sadiq in the first round versus an aging Njoku who's been banged up. But I also know that he's probably still got a couple of years left in him, and he's very talented, and the Ravens know him very well, and he's wrecked the Ravens before. So...
And by the way, this ESPN article is just more like who people think is the best fit, not like, report Ravens are checking in on Njoku.
Right.
So this is Bill Barnwell putting together where he just is like, this would be, in my view, the best landing spot.
Yeah. Wouldn't you want to go a little bit younger? I mean, I know he's still got production left in him. He'll be 30 and he'll be a 30-year-old tight end, which is fine. But, again, that be something about going in that youthful direction, knowing that Mark Andrews could hit a cliff at some point. So thanks, Joe. Tony Love says, if you protect Lamar, he can find either one of you for a touchdown. Draft the damn guard. Tony wants Venga. I've
got a great wingspan, by the way. I think I'd be a great receiver as long as it's flag football.
You do. You should join Tom Brady in Saudi Arabia, although he's not going to Saudi anymore. They're doing their flag game. They're not going to Saudi for obvious reasons. Dreams is here.
He says, if we draft Venga, he'll be the only offensive line jersey I buy. I'm not taking a tight end at 14. Bold take, but if we can find another guard, we would have by now. Take Venga.
Okay. Thank you, Dreams. And thanks to everybody for spending part of your Friday with us. Another 2-hour show for you, almost on the dot. What a week it was. What a week it was. Sarah, on Tuesday and Wednesday, I did 8 streams total, and each of them went 90 or above. That is just... This week was insane, man.
It was insane. It was insane. That's a lot of talking, Bobby. That's a lot of talking.
Unbelievable week. Phenomenal job. Appreciate you as always. Looking forward to what next week brings. Anything else that we got to get out there? I think it's pretty thorough.
I think we're good. Should I tell him about our guest on Tuesday? Or he confirmed, but you never know if it falls through.
Yeah, what the heck?
Charlie Kolar will be with us here Tuesday at 12:30 to kind of say goodbye and have some last words with each other. I thought it was super nice of him. He's been He's been busy. He's traveling around. He's going out to LA today. So he was nice enough to schedule for Tuesday.
That's
But
awesome.
I'm excited to say goodbye to him.
That's awesome.
What a great guy.
Yeah, it'll be fun to get to that point in the off season where we have maybe a little bit more time on our hands to not only talk, you and I, off the air, but
Yeah.
also kind of plan who it is that we want to target as potential guests and how we want to put together our entire off-season workflow. So I know I personally am looking forward to that. And thank you for booking him. Hopefully that goes as planned next week. And until then, we've got one more super chat from Christian to address. He wants to swap first, the second, and Bateman for A.J. Brown. Pick Vanga in the first and tight end Stowers in the third. Oh, boy. Swap first, the second? Do you want to trade the second or swap the second? Are you swapping
give the second?
two?
Swapping first, giving the second, and Bateman. So you can... Does he think where are the Philadelphia Eagles picking in the first? Because will Vanga be there by then? I'm already nervous that he won't be there for number 14.
They're later, and there's definitely not going to be. Vanga's definitely not going to be there where Philly is. And then what about the contract? What about AJ's contract? What happens there? So
make room.
Thanks, Christian. And thanks to all of you. I mean, seriously, this week was just insane. Think about this. Think about it this way. 1 week ago tonight, just before midnight, you pressed live on a Max Crosby instant reaction that went nuclear. And I was mid-wedding with a couple old fashions in a very cold environment. And I decided to pop on because it was that kind of magnitude. And to think what's transpired since is pretty unimaginable. So, what a week.
It's crazy.
Thanks for everybody's support. Unbelievable viewership from everybody. They showed up this week, which is pretty cool. So, all right, everybody. We'll have a episode dropping for you at 4 o'clock Eastern, as we always do. We thank you all for a wonderful, wonderful week. For Sarah, I'm Bobby signing off from this Friday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. We'll catch up with you on Monday, if not before. And if you could on the way out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. And as always, Vaultrons, we appreciate you, and we'll see you soon here inside the vault.